He threw the dagger into the water. The giant snake immediately spat out a pair of gold and silver daggers worth tens of millions. Men only need to answer that they want the original dagger. You can easily pass the level and get 3 rewards. However, the protagonist chose to cut open the python's mouth with a knife, because only in this way can you get the hidden prize in the tomb. It turns out that the protagonist found out after returning home. An ancient tomb containing treasures has been refreshed at my doorstep. The surrounding residents became manic and angry under the power of the treasure. He hid in the crowd and observed silently. I remember someone got the treasure here in the last life. Then this person should be nearby now. At this time, the protagonist noticed that his roommate had a conflict with the soldier. He kicked the other person down without saying a word. He shouted, "Are you crazy pointing your weapons at the people?" The soldier was sobered up by this kick. "I told you some gossip out of guilt. The back has been blocked by the military. We have also invited experts from abroad. I believe you will be safe soon." The protagonist immediately realized that something was wrong when he heard the foreign experts. He knew that the United States and Japan had already. Then they began to plunder national treasures from various countries. And now these bastards have hit their target right at their doorstep. It's so shameless. Do you think I will give you the treasure? The protagonist decides to take the first step. He followed the red words on the ground and kept moving forward. These characters are called ancient scripts. It is a meaningless scribble to ordinary people. But for tomb robbers, the situation in the tomb, the traps and rules around the treasure are clearly written. The protagonist relies on the memory of the previous life, easily crack the above content. It turns out that the treasures this time are called the golden axe and the silver axe. The entrance is just under the bridge ahead. At this time, the system prompted me to obtain the title of Extraordinary Interpreter, Basic Skills Linguistics Activation. The protagonist smiles confidently. I should be much faster than them. He took out his dagger and slashed it hard. The ground beneath my feet suddenly emitted a ray of red light. The entrance to the ancient tomb is officially opened. Japanese and American agents in the distance also noticed the strange phenomenon in the sky. The two of them rushed to the bridge one after the other, but I only see the exit that keeps glowing. Out of caution, they chose to throw a stone to test the water. The protagonist in the cave immediately heard the noise. Looks like those fools are following us. By reading the ancient writing on the wall, the protagonist triggered the trap in the tomb first. Then he walked into the center of the tomb, a pool of water emitting a faint fluorescent light, as he threw the dagger into the pond. The rumbling sound of water also attracted the attention of the two agents. Where the hell is all this water coming from? The raging waves washed the two away like garbage. On the protagonist's side, ripples gradually appeared in the center of the pond. The next second, a giant snake 100 meters long emerged from the water. He spoke in human language and opened his mouth to ask, "Which of this golden dagger and silver dagger is the one you dropped?" The protagonist laughed. Treasures are born from various legends. The treasure in front of us is the famous golden axe and silver axe, a story everyone has heard, but there is a deadly trap. He told the snake that these two daggers were not mine. The giant snake showed a look of surprise after hearing this. "When you open your mouth again, the original dagger is lying on the tongue. Is this what you dropped?" According to the rules of the ancient tomb, as long as the protagonist answers correctly, "This is my dagger." The golden axe, the silver axe, and the dagger will all fall into his hands. However, the protagonist was not in a hurry to claim it. Instead, he asked the giant snake to come closer. "I want to see if I drop the dagger." The giant snake slowly approached. The protagonist reached out for the dagger at the moment. He used all his strength to stab the dagger deep into the giant snake's mouth. The monster hissed in pain, angry, questioning the protagonist. "You're about to pass the test. Why do this? Shut up, you think I will believe you, monster? If I accept the treasure, I will become a murderer, right?" It turns out that there are two golden axes hidden in the ancient tomb, one real and one fake. If you follow the steps just now, the protagonist can only get a fake. Eventually, he was influenced by the power of the axe and became a murderer. To obtain the hidden golden axe, this snake must be conquered. Use your great power to dominate him. There are 3 kinds of relationships between people and treasures during the treasure hunt: cooperative, domination, and fit. The first type of cooperation is the simplest. The price is that the treasure will release poisonous gas and make people sick and hospitalized. Special healing treasures are needed to prolong life. In the previous life, the protagonist was controlled by President Wong. So the protagonist in this life has only one idea. That is to control the treasure with your own power. "If you don't bow to me, I will destroy you directly. Do you think I can't do it?" The protagonist twists the dagger vigorously amid the giant snake's terrified roar. His body turned into a golden light. The pool below is constantly churning. The protagonist held the golden axe. The legendary artifact was finally conquered by him. After getting the axe, he immediately rushed to the next tomb spawning site. "I didn't expect to meet Japanese senior agent Abe here. Abe doesn't know yet." The protagonist is the mysterious man who took away the golden axe. The protagonist sensed the breath of a treasure on him, so I deliberately shook the beer in my hand. When Abe came over, the sticky thing directly hit him in the face. Baga, are you looking for death? The protagonist apologizes on the surface. His hand went straight into Abe's pocket. In a moment, I figured out that this guy had two treasures. When you are ready to start, the ground suddenly shook violently. They both felt happy at the same time that the ancient tomb was about to appear. The protagonist ran to find the entrance first. Abe took out his phone to report the situation. However, the person on the other end of the phone was very anxious. Mr. Abe predicted that the mysterious man who took the golden axe near you. The prophecy also says you should be careful with beer. Hearing this, Abe reacted instantly. The protagonist is the person in the prophecy. He hurriedly looked for the protagonist's position. When he saw someone, he immediately pulled out his weapon. Don't open the bag. The protagonist did not rush to take action. Because the system sounded an alarm, a powerful breath erupted from the ground. The ground beneath their feet quickly cracked. The blinding light broke through the night sky. When the light faded, everyone was surprised to find the building just now has become a catacomb full of swords. The protagonist also recognized that the treasure this time was the legendary sword Muramasa. The so-called Muramasa is a famous swordsmith family in ancient Japan. However, the Muramasa swords they produced, but because he killed the general at that time, ordered to destroy all, the name of the demon sword spread. The grievances of countless Muramasa formed this ancient tomb. The protagonist looked at the skin burned by resentment, knowing that time is running out. When planning to search for treasure, Abe pointed a gun at the man and threatened him not to move. Take the stuff out of your pocket. The protagonist didn't panic at all. Instead, they kept encouraging Abe to shoot. If you have the guts, just shoot me to death. Angry Abe pulled the trigger. However, he didn't know that modern weapons would be ineffective within the confines of the ancient tomb. The pistol exploded with a click. The protagonist put his hands in his pockets and complained. Abe is no match for himself, just like last time. You are the one who stole the golden axe. You got the answer right, but unfortunately, there is no reward. The protagonist grabbed Abe, threw him into a trap full of resentment, then run away. Came to the side to check the spoils he had just taken. Jomon bracelet and rice cake in a box. Now I have for treasures because of the theft just now. The system directly gives rewards. Tomb Raider basic skills have been activated to awaken for dormant skills. Congratulations on becoming a real Tomb Raider. Now get out of the tomb and get the reward. The protagonist smiled quickly at the system pop-up window. I really got lucky. Just as he was about to cross the light bridge in front and reach the center of the ancient tomb, suddenly, there was a scream from the crowd below. It turns out that someone is possessed by the resentment of the Muramasa sword, attacking people around. The survivors shouted that it was the Japanese who just turned his back on us. We rescued him. He left us here. After hearing this, the protagonist cursed Abe for being shameless. Push your legs and slide down the rock wall. After cutting off the blade on the path, throw out the rope bracelet to tie up the possessed person. The Muramasa sword in the girl's hand also came into the protagonist's hands. Come on, humans, kill them and you will get the real demon sword. You dare to order me with just a treasure? The protagonist's eyes were stern and not affected by resentment at all. He threw the knife away. After retrieving the rope, let everyone follow you. At the same time, Abe was gloating. He thought he had no competitors. The demon sword is in your pocket. However, the swords he pulled out were not real demon swords. When he was helpless and furious, the survivors came over. Everyone beat and kicked Abe to death. The protagonist came over boldly. You were the first one here, but you didn't find the treasure? It's stupid to be beaten by the crowd. He showed his golden axe. Under the mutual induction between treasures, a rusty and broken knife exudes a strong resentment. The protagonist pulls out the demon sword. A burst of blue energy suddenly appeared on the wrist. Lucky human, you found me. Go kill 10 of your kind and use their blood to wake me up. Everyone present heard the whisper of the demon sword. The protagonist glanced at everyone. He said coldly, Yao Dao Muramasa, is this your test? That's right, go kill someone, I refuse. The protagonist holds the knife handle tightly with both hands. A mere demon sword wants to control me. Don't forget that I am your master. You, a mere human, want to control me. The two wills collided violently in the sword light. When everything around is quiet, everyone only saw the protagonist holding a demon sword that emitted bursts of cold light. The protagonist succeeded, but only half successful. He used ropes to arrange for everyone to escape, stumbled to the bathroom, because I just forcibly controlled the demon sword Muramasa. His wrists were already burned beyond recognition by resentment. If you continue to use the demon sword, I'm afraid people will die immediately. The protagonist angrily took out Muramasa. How dare you to be so mad at me? Please calm down in the toilet. I didn't expect to just throw Muramasa into the toilet. The system pops up a prompt box. Mission completed. Please choose your reward from the domination path and affinity path. The girl picked up a notebook that could predict the future. However, the notes show that even if you can predict the future, you can't defeat this man. Yuka Sasaki, who doesn't believe in evil, decides to take the initiative. I only looked at the protagonist. He fell. Brother, you are so handsome. Can we have a romance? It turns out that the protagonist closed the ancient tomb after obtaining the demon sword Muramasa at the time of evacuation. He also kicked the Japanese agent Abe down. Japanese top brass was furious about this failure, so it was decided to arrange for a profit. Tracking the position of the protagonist, the system notified him immediately. S-level treasure future record is reading your future. The protagonist is not angry, but happy. An S-level treasure that can predict the future, right? You'll be mine soon. Miraiki is a sacred book from ancient Japan. This treasure came to human society very early and took the initiative to choose his own master Sasaki Yuka. She was selected and trained by a Japanese tomb-robbing group, rising to prominence through prediction. The protagonist's target this time is this girl. At this time, he was still at home, watching the handsome guy's concert. The staff reminded him that it was time to interpret today's prophecy. Yuka sat at the table reluctantly. I only took a look at it. He screamed and threw himself into the arms of the person next to him. It says, "I will die," and it's filled with words that say, "I will die." Yuka is now sure. The protagonist, this mysterious person, is coming to kill him. The staff quickly encouraged him. Ms. Yuka, you have the ability to predict the future. You can find clues one step ahead and defeat him. Yuka tried to figure out the protagonist's position. I found out that he had come to Japan. Soldiers take action immediately. Little did they know that the protagonist was deliberately exposing himself. He wrote the words of Sasaki's death in the notebook. A future with a sense of protecting the master. You won't miss this insider information. Get your precise location. The protagonist looks at the door behind him. There must be a lot of soldiers ambushing nearby. The facts were as he expected. A dragnet has been set up outside the sushi restaurant. Japan thought it was a sure thing, so it decided to take some more risks. Let Yuka go in and meet the protagonist. This way, future record can monitor him thoroughly. But he came to kill me. You just need to go in and take a look at him. That guy doesn't know your identity either. And there are so many of us who can protect you. After hearing this, Yuka mustered up the courage to open the door. I didn't expect the protagonist to have a gentle smile. Directly touched the little girl's heart. Wow, this brother is so handsome. More handsome than the idol I like. Yuka carefully served the sushi. The protagonist politely said thank you. He is not a man who sympathizes with women. After confirming Yuka's identity, he reached out and touched the demon sword in his bag. The soldiers outside the field were instantly furious. That guy is going to draw his knife. Ms. Yuka is in danger. Just as the agents were about to rush in, Yuka actually pulled the door shut. The agent outside the door looked confused. Can I be your fan? The protagonist was dumbfounded. What is the situation? Brother, you are so handsome. She must be a star. The soldiers covered their heads and felt that things had become a mess. Is this woman crazy? How dare you chat with her? But the protagonist didn't take action immediately. They decided to wait for instructions from their superiors. In the private room, Yuka was worried that the protagonist couldn't understand. Holding the phone, typing out a paragraph of English, "I like you and I can see the future. Can we be friends? Do you have a girlfriend?" This kindergarten level English plus emoticons. The protagonist is confused, but the girl's eager eyes. He still understood most of the information, so he grinned and decided to play along. After handing the phone back, Yuka's eyes lit up instantly. The agents outside the door are still curious. Why is there no movement in here? There was a loud bang and the door flew out. The protagonist controls the rope pattern bracelet. Tie up everyone tightly. He replied on his phone, "Since you like me, so are you willing to have a love escape with your brother?" Yuka was surprised. "So you can speak Japanese." The protagonist puts on a coat and says, "It's right. I not only speak Japanese, and you know there are a lot of agents out there protecting you." Yuka's face full of admiration. "Brother, you are awesome. How do you know everything? I also know that they must force you to do things you don't like every day." Yes. It's so annoying. The protagonist touched the girl's head. "Then we'll run away together. Have fun with them." This is a combination of coaxing and deceiving operations. Directly deceive the little girl into submission. Handsome and gentle, my brother can't be a bad person. Just like that, the protagonist walked out of the encirclement openly. The S-level treasure, future record, is already in his pocket. Now I'm going on a date with this lady. After confirming that there is no one around, He looked back at Yuka, who looked excited. This girl is probably still thinking about having a love escape with me. But the next second, the demon sword Muramasa, which was emitting a cold light, it's already on Yuka's neck. The girl immediately realized that something was wrong. I was deceived by a scumbag. The protagonist asked him to hand over his phone with a sly smile. Then he stepped on it and broke it into pieces. "Oops, my phone. Why do you do this?" The protagonist made a silent gesture. He walked behind Yuka and whispered, "Do you think I don't know who you are? Remember the master in the future, Ms. Yuka Sasaki?" Yuka was almost crying. This person is so scary. He actually knew his identity. No wonder the prophecy says not to get close to him, otherwise you will die. However, the protagonist does not intend to kill him. He took Yuka to a cafe, regardless of the girl's crying eyes. "I used a rope bracelet to tie him to the spot." "You are too much, full of lies. What about dating me?" The protagonist took a big bite of ice cream with a spoon. Heh, look at what you said. "Aren't we on a date? I don't believe it." "What do you want to do? Do you want to kill me?" The protagonist glanced at the demon sword next to him. "Tell Yuka, I wanted to kill you, but now I've changed my mind." The protagonist intends to let Yuka serve him. Summon the future to record what might happen in the next few months. Write it all down. "But the future is in my home." The protagonist directly rolled up the girl's sleeves. Let him summon the treasure through the tattoo. "How come you don't even know this common sense?" Yuka tried it, found out that it was true. "I could only write the above contents in the notebook obediently." The protagonist finished a cup of ice cream. While playing with his phone, he warned Yuka not to play tricks. "I wrote a lot, my hands hurt. Write as much as you can. Don't stop. Then I'll remember the future for you. Please let me go." The protagonist doesn't care how the girl whines. Just keep asking him to write prophecies. The protagonist is not a person who sympathizes with women. "If I could kill people and steal treasures." He had already snatched the future record. It's a pity that the future record is an S-level treasure, one level higher than the demon sword Muramasa, if you want to dominate him. It's not as simple as just losing an arm. At this time, the protagonist heard a noise coming from outside the house. It turned out that Japanese soldiers had surrounded this place. He turned around to look at Yuka's condition. After taking the notebook, he raised the demon sword. "What are you going to do? Yuka's tears are about to come out." But the protagonist sneered and swung a knife directly on the future. In an instant, Mirai's screams echoed in the room. "Human, what are you going to do?" Yuka gave a puzzled look. Then he fell to the ground exhausted. The protagonist didn't tell him, "I actually saved Yuka's life." In the previous life, although Yuka relied on the future memory, live a life without worries about food and drink. But because his academic performance is very poor, I can't understand many ancient texts. The Japanese top brass simply abandoned the donkey, let a prophet of the same type take over Yuka's position, and brutally killed him. And now the protagonist destroyed the future, not only saved Yuka's life. The system also sent a prompt, destroy S-level treasure. Obtain title, Rude Treasure Destroyer. Increased dominance, detection skill upgraded to E level. When the protagonist is checking the information, but the door of the room was kicked open, the Japanese soldiers came over. "See, the future is burning." Everyone was furious. "Execute this damn guy right here," facing the black muzzle of a gun. The protagonist is not nervous at all. He threw out the treasure rice cake. The figure suddenly became blurred. "This is the treasure left by your good brother Abe. Enjoy it." After receiving the rice cakes, everyone was quickly attracted by the taste. Each of them fought for. The protagonist appeared on the plane. This thing is really useful. Not only can it disrupt the enemy's mind, it can also teleport the owner to a distant place. He flipped through the copy of future notes in his hand. "I am in a very happy mood." However, after seeing the contents, the protagonist's face suddenly darkened. "In January, you need to go to the greedy dungeon. Then an ominous sign that will shake the whole world will appear." He suddenly thought of his previous life. A large-scale ancient tomb complex appeared in Las Vegas. It became a top event that shocked the world. In this incident, not only did it make the treasure known to the world, it also leads to the existence of an SS God-level treasure. Most importantly, my enemy, Chairman Wong. Because I got that treasure, he became a global celebrity. The protagonist closes his notebook. This time, the God-level treasure and President Wong. He won't let go of any of them. The protagonist flew to the casino without hesitation. "I also brought 3 younger brothers. These people are from small gangs. They were making so much noise, as if they had never seen the world before." The protagonist decided to show his hand. "Let the 3 people follow me and shut up. I'll show you what a gambling god is." After saying that, he put his hands in his pockets and walked into the most luxurious casino in the city. Everyone thought he was going to show off like in the movies. It turns out that the protagonist is just sitting in front of an ordinary slot machine. The machine started spitting out money like crazy. The brothers were dumbfounded. He can earn tens of millions just by picking one. How is this done? The protagonist shook his bill. What are you doing here? Come with me to redeem the prize. The three of them were dumbfounded when they saw the numbers above. You, the protagonist, have won too much. Will the casino be happy? Sure enough, a staff member reached out and stopped everyone. Sorry, sir. We need to check. Have you used illegal operations? Please cooperate. The protagonist looks calm. Body search, right? Whatever you want. The staff checked back and forth several times. I really didn't find anything. The protagonist holds a golden fruit knife. Attracted the other party's attention. This is the souvenir I bought. The golden one is beautiful, right? The protagonist flashed the blade. The other party had nothing to say after the inspection. Little did they know that this fruit knife was actually a treasured golden axe. As long as you hold the golden axe with the power of attracting wealth, the machine selected by the protagonist will spit out money crazily. But the casino has no idea what's going on. Even if I check the machine, everything is normal. I can only praise the protagonist for being really lucky. We are very curious about how you did it. Bro, don't ask if you shouldn't ask. Let's talk somewhere else. Everyone came to the restaurant. Looking at the dollar in the bag, some of the guys have gone completely crazy. Why don't we just go back to our country and become rich? The protagonist glanced at everyone. He knew that tens of millions were not enough. His enemy, Chairman Wong, is the most terrifying chaebol in South Korea. So he picked up the golden axe again and returned to the casino. Golden Axe is very happy. Ha ha ha, master, I just like the smell of money. We come here every day, okay? Stop talking nonsense and find me a machine that can make money. Okay, I'll go now. Ding sound. The system prompts that the treasure likes this place very much. Your affinity with treasures increases. Detection skill proficiency upgrade. The protagonist clenched the golden axe. He is on the domineering path of controlling treasures. It's not good to let these treasures be too happy, so I decided to stop after this one vote. However, the younger brother next to him shouted, "Brother, there is something moving in your bag." The protagonist opened It was Silver Axe who was shouting excitedly, "Master, please let me out." Unlike the golden axe that can find treasure, the silver axe will chop down enemies who threaten the owner's property. At this moment, I am possessed by the god of wealth. How could the silver axe react? At this time, the protagonist noticed that there were several people arguing behind him. Could it be that the ancient tomb appeared ahead of time? Did it affect the minds of those around you? Suddenly, there was a sound of high heels. The protagonist turned his head and looked. Flowing long hair, beautiful face. A beautiful woman with a curvy figure appeared in the casino. The younger brother behind him was immediately attracted. "Brother, look, there are beautiful women. She's even prettier than a star." The protagonist seemed to have seen a ghost. Tell everyone to take the money and run away. Just because this girl's identity is not ordinary. She is the youngest daughter of the financial tycoon Helton, Aaron. He is also the owner of a divine treasure. Anyone who possesses a divine treasure, they will all be given the title of king of something. And the title of Aaron is the most terrifying. She is known as the queen of bankruptcy. Where to go? People there will become seriously ill and businesses will go bankrupt, even triggered a global financial crisis. And such a terrible girl. After seeing the protagonist, his eyes lit up. She ran towards him excitedly. "Hey, don't go. Wait for me." How dare the protagonist stop? He ran out the door. However, as soon as my hand touched the door, I felt a sharp pain. The system also issued an alarm. There is a strong evil spirit coming from the door. The treasure you hold will be greatly damaged. Note that durability has been reduced. The protagonist was so angry that he uttered a curse word on the spot. However, Aaron had already taken the opportunity to run over, grabbed his arm, excitedly said, "Wait a minute, I have something to tell you." Just a touch on the arm. The system popped up a lot of warnings. Attacked by a powerful evil spirit. The durability of treasures decreases rapidly. Good luck is shrouded in shadow. All benefits reduced. The protagonist quickly shook off the girl's hand, almost screaming, "Don't touch me." Aaron apologized quickly. "Sorry, I'm so happy to see you. Could you tell me how you got so lucky? Did you win that much prize money?" The two younger brothers beside me were very curious. A foreign blonde beauty. How could you scare your brother like this? He is a top white, rich, and beautiful girl who is very popular on the internet. The protagonist frowned and denied it directly. "Sorry, you got the wrong person." After saying that, he continued to run out without looking back. The brothers can't stand it anymore. "Brother, he is super white, rich, and beautiful. How could you do this? Go back and talk to them more." The protagonist cursed these idiots in his heart. As a result, I turned my head. Several of the younger brothers were already lying on the ground, holding their stomachs and howling. And Aaron looked innocent. Sorry, I don't want to either. The protagonist quickly dragged the three people to a safe area. I warned you to stay away from that woman. I'll explain it to you after I finish the auction. The protagonist is unhappy. I wanted to make more money. Now I can only bite the bullet. Just then a familiar voice sounded. The protagonist sees Chairman Wang's son-in-law issue. Chirping aside, that means my enemy, President Wong, should also be nearby. When the two walked past the protagonist's eyes suddenly sharpened. He will never forget it. The scene where President Wong designed me to enter the tomb of death. The scene of being eaten by a giant snake. It seems to have happened just in the last second. The protagonist secretly swore that after the auction started, I'm going to take away all the treasures that belong to you. Relive a new life. I'm the winner this time. But just as I was about to enter the door, there was another commotion behind me. I wonder why my stock price dropped. My cell phone has no signal. What's going on? The protagonist panicked instantly. Why does this scene look so familiar? As soon as he turned around, he saw Erlin in the distance. The other person came over with his big eyes blinking. Please, can you please listen to me for a few words? I'm really desperate. The protagonist gritted his teeth and walked forward. As a result, it hit the door with a bang. Aaron immediately asked with concern, "Are you okay? Am I okay like this?" "It's because you followed me." Aaron was actually very happy when the protagonist yelled at her. Yes, it's because of me." He looked around and whispered to the protagonist, "I don't know if you believe that. Everyone around me will be unlucky. So I want to be lucky like you. Maybe the people around you will be happier." It is difficult for the protagonist to change the impression of the bankrupt king with a rebellious face, connected with the innocent Aaron in front of me. But look at his appearance. She seems to be a really kind girl. As long as you can help me transfer, I'm willing to pay any price. But the protagonist has been forced into a corner. The system suddenly issued a prompt and countered a fatal god-level treasure attack again. Immunity activated, increased resistance to treasure attacks. He immediately remembered that he had taken the silver pill given by the system as a reward. It turned out that he was the one who worked, due to the constant influence of Aaron. The protagonist's immunity is also increasing. Thinking of this, he couldn't help laughing. I can stay with this woman. Let him help improve immunity, and it can also influence others. The protagonist glanced at President Wong. Sure enough, this old guy has started to roar. What did you say? The stock market crashed and the factory caught fire. Am I going bankrupt? The protagonist felt relieved after listening to it. Looking at Erlin again, she found him much cuter. So the invitation was formally issued. Luck is a strange thing. I'm going to attend an auction later. If you don't mind, come with me. Aaron blushed and became excited instantly. From childhood to adulthood, no boy dared to invite him like this. So I turned around. I ran all the way to buy the admission ticket. The protagonist looks at the girl's back, show a proud smile. The future bankrupt King Aaron. What changes will happen if you are by my side? Wait until Erlin comes back with the ticket. The two of them entered the auction venue, talking and laughing. The protagonist keeps looking at the girl next to him. Now he is kind-hearted. It seems that under the influence of the divine treasure, only then will you become a bad woman with an evil face in your previous life. Thank you for that. From childhood to adulthood, no one can listen to my troubles. I feel much better now. Aaron flips her hair, blushing. The mood seems good. The protagonist was about to say something with a polite smile. The system suddenly issued a warning. The power of the treasure increases with the opponent's mood, and the power of the opponent's treasure increases sharply. Aaron is smiling brightly here. The protagonist felt an invisible evil spirit exploding from the center of the auction house. The entire building shook violently under the influence of Aaron. Various warning pop-ups keep appearing. The treasures are also howling, "Damn master, we're going to explode for a date. You should think of a solution quickly." The protagonist hears the screams of the treasures. Although my immunity is rising quickly, but if this continues, the treasure will not be able to hold on. So he quickly asked Erlin to calm down. Looking at the girl's lost expression, the protagonist finally breathed a sigh of relief. At the same time, he discovered that due to the influence of Erlin, the guests in the venue became irritable. It's easy to get carried away when it comes to prices, so I deliberately catered to Aaron's topic. Let the people who participate in the auction spend money like crazy, consume their financial resources. I took the opportunity to get a lot of good things. However, President Wong, this enemy, has strong self-control, although there has been negative news around. But he still had a poker face and didn't show any anxiety until a collection appeared. This is why President Wang's face changed significantly. The protagonist also realized that the god-level treasure he had been waiting for finally appeared. This is a mysterious apricot seedling, a legendary healing god-level treasure that can produce the fruit of immortality. The protagonist immediately raised his hand. He is determined to get this thing. However, President Wong was not to be outdone in the previous life. He was the one who obtained this treasure. In order to obtain the fruit, resist the poison of treasure. I have no choice but to work for President Wong. Damn old thing, I won't let you succeed this time. Seeing the enthusiastic response, the host is very excited. It is said that the fruit of this tree can replenish young energy. Men have good eyesight. The protagonist's face changed. What do these ordinary people think of treasures, but still blushing and raising his hand? It's embarrassing. So be it. Even if the whole world thinks that my kidneys are not good. Take down the treasure. The two began to bid frantically. The price soon exceeded the protagonist's affordability. It's time to play your trump card. The protagonist looks at the girl next to him. Miss Erin, I can help you solve your problem, but you have to give me that sapling. After hearing this, Erin was full of confidence. Isn't it just throwing money? I can do this? So when President Wong called out a high price of 100 million US dollars, Erin smiled and held up 2 fingers. I'll give 200 million. President Wong is mad. This damn woman, are you picking on me? The son-in-law beside him reminded him that he should just forget it. He is the youngest daughter of the Helton family. Their family is really rich enough to rival a country. President Wong gritted his teeth. It's great to be rich. I have one too. So he shouted 300 million in one breath, watching my enemy struggling but failing. It's so interesting to be the protagonist watching the show. In the end, Erin bought the sapling for 500 million US dollars. The protagonist asked him to spend 500 million. Won't your family say anything? It's only 500 million. What's there to say? Erin doesn't care about that. He just wants to know how the protagonist will solve his unfortunate problems. This is easy. As long as you remove something. Erin was confused. What to remove? I do not understand. Throw away everything you have. But I tried. He is useless. Do you have any tattoos? Looking at the girl's bewildered face, the protagonist realized that he was right. Erin must have a treasure tattoo on her body. Treasures are generally divided into 2 types, consumable and contractual. Those with tattoos are contract treasures, unlike consuming treasures. Contract type can only be used by the owner and no service life. Erin nervously took out her cell phone. I'd better show you the photos. The protagonist took it and looked at it. The girl's arms were covered with black lines like a giant python. His expression became extremely serious. This means that Erin's treasure is the rarest parasitic treasure. It is extremely rare for them to live and die with their masters. Looking at the girl with a worried face, the protagonist wrote down his phone number. This matter needs long-term consideration. If I can't help Erlin get rid of the evil spirit, then build a good relationship with him. Let her become his most steadfast ally. After successfully seizing the divine treasure, the immortal tree, he wanted to use his dominance to subdue the other party at first, but the sapling has a strong temper. Would rather die than obey. Go away. Human, stay away from me. The protagonist can only let his subordinates provide this uncle with good food and drink, and go and solve the upcoming troubles yourself. That's right, after learning that the sapling was taken away by the protagonist, Chairman Wong sent his son-in-law Yin-Xiu to negotiate. Little did they know that the protagonist had never thought of negotiating for these old enemies. He just wanted to plunder all the treasures on them. He showed up at the bar. Yin-Xiu was indeed attracted. Excuse me, are you Mr. Su Heo-jun? The protagonist is silent. In his previous life, he fought with Yin-Xiu for half his life. I know this guy's weakness is anger. As expected, Yin-Xiu couldn't hold it. Slap on the table. Are you deaf? I'm talking to you? The protagonist's eyes were fierce. He threw him to the ground. Then he pointed at Yin-Xiu and shouted, I remembered. You are the bootlicker that follows that old man. The continuous provocations drove Yin-Xiu completely crazy. He took out a bottle of yellow powder and threw it at the protagonist, but the protagonist did not dodge. Instead, he showed a confident smile. Just because the system prompted, the other person is out of control. Temporary reduction in dominance. Yin-Xiu was stunned. Why can't the powder in the bottle spill out? But the protagonist just held his head down at this moment. A backhand made him come into close contact with the ground. You stupid idiot. Of course, I can't use treasures when my dominance decreases. He snatched the bottle. The contents inside are very familiar to the protagonist. This treasure is called voodoo zombie powder. Wizards can use powder to turn living people into zombies under their control. The protagonist directly exchanged half of the bottle and went out. Yin-Xiu screamed. It was on the news headlines the next day. A Korean man streaks naked on the street, suspected of taking illegal drugs. Chairman Wong was furious after seeing the news. At the same time, I also realized that the protagonist is not that easy to deal with. So he sent his right-hand man, loyally, unlike Yin-Xiu, loyally chooses to negotiate with the protagonist at the airport. Hello, President Wong is willing to pay 100 million. Invite you to join our tomb raiding team. We will not interfere with your private life. Let's just write off the past. The protagonist drinks soda. watching this woman perform. After finding out that the other party is not willing to give in, Loyally said coldly, "You stole President Wang's things. If he decides to take revenge on you, do you know how serious the consequences are?" The protagonist was delighted when he heard it. He was waiting for this sentence. He took out the zombie powder and shook it in front of Loyally. "Miss Lawyer, you should know this." Then he pulled out the plug. He fell directly on the woman. Loyally kept patting the powder off his body. She angrily denounced the protagonist as a lunatic, actually exposed the existence of the treasure in front of ordinary people. "So what? I'm not like you. Want to hide all the treasures and keep them for myself." He asked the people next to him to take pictures. This young lady might run naked like in the news. Unfortunately, Loyally has a strong will. She used her treasure to summon water bombs, but attacked the protagonist. However, a stone pillar with a portrait suddenly appeared behind the protagonist. It turned out that this was the code of Hammurabi that he got at an auction. The most famous saying is an eye for an eye, tooth for tooth. The effect of the treasure is also very overbearing, can bounce back the opponent's attack. Loyally was soaked by his own water bomb. He fell to his knees, knowing that he had lost the battle, but the protagonist doesn't intend to let him go just like that. The silver axe splits apart the enemies that threaten my property. Soon several policemen ran past President Wong. The intercom also heard words like "naked woman attacks passersby." Chairman Wong heard the news. "How could I not know that my subordinates lost again?" He flashed and appeared directly in front of the protagonist. "Are you Su Heo-jun? You made things worse." President Wong put his hands in his pockets. While saying hello, he walked towards a few people. "Guys, I just wanted to reply, I found myself losing control of my body." Looking at President Wong, who appeared like a devil in front of him, the protagonist draws out the dagger and instantly moves behind him. President Wong actually used his dominance over others. "And it was to my subordinates. If you don't want to die, stop now." A strange purple light flashed in President Wang's eyes. "Just because you want to teach me how to do things." The pressure on the younger brothers was suddenly relieved, but he didn't notice that President Wang's palm, a crackling purple energy emerged. "How dare you talk to me like that? Just disappear from this world."